What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Ben Mahari here, representing Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Finally, the NBA season has come and it has arrived. So, a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about here on this channel. I'm going to try to, put more videos out there and give you guys my thoughts on the entire NBA season. But, obviously, I watched the Boston Celtics pounce on the New York Knicks in the first game of the season, and the Celtics were just throwing up threes left and right. So, I'll just say that the Celtics love to shoot their threes. It reminds me a lot of the old Golden State Warrior teams way back in the day. Can't believe I even seen it. But, yeah, they love to shoot their threes. But I wanted to particularly talk about the Eastern Conference and how I look at things right now. Right now, as we stand, Boston is the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. There's no denying about that. And they made some different changes to the roster. Not much, but the core of this team it still remains. But the other factor you have to consider is that Kristaps Porzingis is going to be out for a significant period of time due to his injuries. We all know that. But the one thing that I will say is that the Boston Celtics right now, as they're constructed, they could possibly repeat as champions. Possibly. If everything goes right in terms of their health, to their key players, and if the landscape of the Eastern Conference changes. Now, what I saw from the New York Knicks is that they're a 1-2 punch team now with Jalen Brunson and with Karl-Anthony Towns at the helm. So, one of the things that we have to consider here is that when it comes down to the New York Knicks, this is a team that is built to win now. And you got to give a lot of credit to Tom Thibodeau for doing an excellent job of building this team into a playoff contender, and now they're knocking on the doorstep of a title contender. So I really do commend Tom Thibodeau for his job of building this team. But the question here is that how far is this team going to go? And how much of the Karl-Anthony Towns trade is going to make a huge influence on the team? I think that with him on the team, he does a lot of things. He spreads the floor. He shoots the ball very well. He's a very good rebounder, and he's a very good post-up player. So those are the things that are really going to be helpful for the New York Knicks. Now, in terms of the other teams in the conference, we also have to consider the Milwaukee Bucks. I'll be honest with you about the Milwaukee Bucks. It's title or bust. And the reason why I'm saying here is that last year you hired Adrian Griffin. Then you guys were basically at the top of the Eastern Conference for a bit until the Celtics took over. Then you fired Adrian Griffin. Fine. You bring in Doc Rivers. And the team just was not consistent all year long. This is going to be the first full season with Doc Rivers. And I am no fan of Doc Rivers considering the fact of his playoff failures and his refusal to make in-game adjustments during playoff series. It's one of the reasons why he's lost so many Game 7s and blew 3-1 leads in his entire time as head coach. The only reason why he's still relevant is because he's still riding the coattails of the 08 championship. And even then, that was a difficult task because they made it difficult. You could blame Doc Rivers for that. So, my point here is that with the Milwaukee Bucks, I think that if they don't get it at least to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think you can see huge changes to the team. I could see them getting rid of some pieces. I don't think that Giannis is going anywhere, because I heard him say that if I don't get it done, you should trade me or this and that. No, the Milwaukee Bucks are not going to trade him. That'd be the last thing that they wanted to do. So, for Dame, for Middleton, for Lopez, and for Giannis himself, this is title or bust. They have to get it done. And for Doc Rivers, I'll tell you what, he's getting chance after chance after chance. But I said it before a couple years ago, I thought he was done after he blew another 3-1 lead when he was with the Clippers. Then he went to the Sixers, and then he did some similar success, but no trip to the Eastern Conference Finals ever since. So, the thing that I had to have a problem with the Bucks here is that, Doc Rivers runs the same old stuff, but he never makes any critical adjustments, which has been one of the biggest, criticisms of him during his time as head coach. So that's where I'm going to leave it at there for the Milwaukee Bucks. For the 76ers, the way I look at the 76ers here is if Embiid is going to stay healthy for the majority of the season, they're a title contender. We already know that Tyrese Maxey is now developing into one of the best, scorers in the NBA. With those two guys together, they're a lethal punch. But it comes down to health. If Joel Embiid is not going to play back-to-back games, you might as well forget the 76ers as a title contender. I'm serious. I've never met a guy that is literally sits around here and literally can't play back-to-back games, which is more on the fact that his fitness and his health is not well maintained. So I look at it here is that the 76ers are pretty much the wild card. How are they going to look? And especially when you bring in Paul George to the helm, that's going to help them a lot. But we're going to see how they'll look as 10 games in. Are they going to be really a fringe contender, or are they going to actually be a title contender? That's going to be one of my other questions. So the other question I have here is the other teams out here in the Eastern Conference. Teams like the Cavaliers, the Magic, and also what other team that is supposed to be a contender? I know that the Chicago Bulls, they were pretty much a play-in team, but they weren't much of a factor. But the other teams out there are just pretty much trying to get into the play-in game or probably get one of the lower seeds. Also with Miami. Miami's a different kind of animal because we all know how trash Miami is in the regular season, but they always turn it up in the playoffs. But this year, they're coming in with a lot of controversy because Jimmy Butler ran his mouth, towards the media. Pat Riley pretty much put him in his place, and it rubbed Jimmy Butler the wrong way. So the question here is that, will the Miami Heat, again, make another surprise run, or do I believe this is going to be the end of the line for them in terms of making these guys performing in the postseason? We don't know. That's the weird thing about Miami. Miami is one of those teams that you just don't know what you're going to get out of them. You don't know how they're gonna look. You don't know if they're gonna turn things around and just pretty much play lights out basketball, or they're just gonna be trash. You don't know how this is gonna look. But the two teams that I do believe that could make the Eastern Conference Finals, in my opinion, obviously the Boston Celtics. And between Milwaukee and New York, I'm gonna go with New York only if they stay majority healthy and their defense continues to play lights out. Because Tom Thibodeau's staple is defense. So I look at Boston and New York as the two teams that could probably meet in the Eastern Conference Finals, in my opinion at least. But we don't know how the season's going to turn out. That's just my prediction. So we'll see what happens. But later on, I'm going to discuss about the Western Conference and how I look at the conference and how a lot of those teams out west, it's going to be a wild, wild race. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the West right now, I could see a few teams that could probably contend for the title. So that's all I have to say about the East. I got Milwaukee and, I got Boston and I got New York meeting in the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know how Milwaukee's going to look. Milwaukee is going to, and Philadelphia are the wild cards. We're going to see how they're going to look. We'll see how that turns out 10 to 15 games into the season. So, but that's all I got to say. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And with that, I'm out. Peace.